ポケット ENIX。
Okay, here I'm going to be making a model of Coalbra, or Coalbra, however you pronounce it. This is an evolution of the snake hoodie design that I made previously. This, I'm assuming, is the second form, and as you can see, I'm starting off with a simple cylinder. It's the same base shape. It's a snake, snake creature. This is a Fakemon designed by Bilsuart. There'll be a link to his content in the description. Again, this is another design I just liked. I just like his artwork, and I like making creatures. While I do enjoy making 3D characters, every character is always going to have, a head, 2 legs, 2 arms, 5 fingers, or whatever. I mean, there's exceptions. You can make a 1 arm or whatever, but generally the anatomy of a human being, no matter what kind of style you're going to do, it's always going to, be limited to that. I like enemy and creature design a lot more, and I enjoy it because it allows this kind of creativity and freedom. I don't think I have experience modeling like snakes, real life snakes. So there's really no reference. So I'm just kind of winging it when it comes to the shape of this. The same way I did with the snake hoodie model. I could have used that as a base to start off with, and just kind of add along that, maybe make the body longer. But I like to, when I can, just make things from scratch. Just start from basic primitive shapes. We're talking like cubes, spheres, cylinders. I was always into traditional polygonal modeling, and you just start from the basics. And with that, I never lose my touch on how I, control edge flow and control topology and, poly count as well. And you'll see I spent a lot more time on the head here for this model, because I'm just trying to get it just right when it comes to the smoothing angle, the shading on the head. And the way I achieve that is, I detached that part from the body in terms of the mesh, but rather than just detaching it and putting a different smooth angle on the whole head part, I decided to go in with the edges manually and define the smooth angles. Here I'm making the hood, which was a bit confusing for me. I noticed that at this point, somewhere along the line, I decided I had a lot of polygons to spare. I gave myself 1500 quads to work with, and here I believe I'm under 1000 still. So I'm making the tail here. It's just a simple asymmetrical little rough rock figure made from a 5-sided sphere. These rocks here that I'm adding, it's simple geometry. It's some spheres, some simple primitives. I made about 2 or 3 of them, and I'm just copying and pasting, like cloning them, and rotating them and extruding a different face out. And with that, you get a different, jumbled random collection of rocks that I put. And now I could have used less rocks. As you can see, there's a lot of them. But again, I looked at the poly count mid through, and I was like, wow, I'm not even at 1000 yet. So I had a lot to spare. And that was a huge feature. Like, it's a striking feature in the hood. When you look at this design, it really stands out for the silhouette. As you can see here, all of this is me manually selecting the edges here at the end, defining those sharp angles that is on that rock mask. It has an openable mouth, which I forgot to do for Snake Hoodie because his mouth wasn't open, but with this mouth on the model, I put it open and you can actually move it. But all in all, like, the base model, when it's done here, it's pretty simple. I mean, you can see it's just a long tube shape, but the body is smooth, and the rocks are, shaded like unsmooth. But when it comes to the head, I had to manually go in there and define those edges to make them rough and give it more of an angular look, just like the design has. But yeah, the base model was not a lot of work. I believe the final base model was about 1200 quads, something about 2200 tries, something like that. So here we have unwrapping. I could go into how to do this, but pretty sure if you have a concept of unwrapping, it's just taking all of these pieces and laying them out flat so I can texture them later. I did have somebody mention, why go through the trouble of unwrapping a model like this when I can just use material colors, or why go through the trouble of making a UV map the way I am laying it out? It uses simple colors, and if I wanted to, I could just bunch up a bunch of the polygons on the map, and without having to unwrap much of it, I can just lay out colors wherever I want. But if I wanted to change certain things, or maybe change a part of the hood design, the teeth maybe, even the eyes, or maybe the tip of the tail, with the properly laid out UV map, you can do that. It's always good practice to just make a good UV map, even though I know this model doesn't use that many colors. Everything you make, it's good practice to make that UV map. Here all the rocks are jumbled together, and this is not the best map either. I'm using the same resolution as the Snake Hoodie model, so we're talking 256 by 256 PNG map, and this would be for like perhaps a 3DS game resolution, maybe a DS game. 256 is very low, as you can see here, but it gets the point across. Again, not a lot of detail in the texture, but if I wanted to add more, I could. And here we are with the rig. We're finding all the bones here. The rig is very simple. It's a snake rig, but now adding bones for a movable mouth. The tail is also detached from its own bone, so it can actually rotate and move on its own, the very tip, the rock tail there. Also the hood I made movable, and here you're just seeing the process of me painting the influence and the rigging and going back and forth and moving those joints, making sure they move the bones properly, and tweaking any vertices or any faces that don't move. And rigging is a process that I actually enjoy. It can get frustrating, like especially with this hood area right here in the back. I have to paint the bone influence on all these rocks manually, and sometimes it can be a pain, like there's always an error. And rigging is a lot of just trial and error, going back and forth and making sure the influences of the bones is working well with how you define the influences of those vertices. But again, this is still simple. It's just a tail rig, really. After everything is weighed out properly, the mouth, the head, and the tail, even the hood, then I just simply add IK targets to make animating easier, and that also makes posing easier. See, here at the final I'm having a lot of problems with the hood here, but yeah, I'll use an extreme pose like that, like you just saw, to make sure bones are moving and there's not certain vertices or things being stretched that shouldn't be. And yeah, at the end I'm adding my IK targets here, and this is ready to be moved, posable, and ready to be animated if I want to. So yeah, it's a simple rig just like Snake Hoodie. I'm kind of happy with how this model turned out. It's pretty good. And I'll just show you the full rig right here once it's done. And here's what we have. Yeah, very simple rig. I got about 4 IK targets here. 2 for the body, 1 for one end, 1 for the front end, and then I have a IK controller for the head, or the neck kind of bones, to move the head as well. I have some for the hood and the mouth, but here it's just testing. I've got it nice and posable. The hood can be moved. The description says it can actually shoot flames from this hood. Not sure how I would make that work or manage that. And as you can see here, the tail can spin and move if I wanted to, perhaps in an idle animation. Mouth is fully posable. I can open and close it however I want, so that's good. This guy can actually talk if he wanted to.